am at the 1836 celebration near Palestine, Texas, and I am looking at some military regalia that has been showing up here for the last 10 years or so. And this is the first time I have seen a mobile foundry.
Well, yeah, this is a traveling forge.
A traveling forge.
Yeah,
okay, see,
forge.
it's not a foundry. A forge and a foundry is completely different.
Yeah.
See how dumb I am?
Well, they would have used four to six horses pulling this during the war.
Okay.
Each battery had one, and this is one of probably 6 or 7 that's left. It's not original. It's got some original parts on it, but it's not 100% original. Like nothing is anymore, hardly.
All right.
This is the limber I just got finished building in the shop. First time we've had it out, hooked up. We're going to hook it up this weekend just to pull it around and get people to look at it, because there's not that many around.
Yes, sir.
But,
pretty rare.
Yeah. And then it will fire up. It's functioning, but we can walk around if you want to.
Okay, and I'd like to have you introduce yourself.
My name is Wes Thorne. I'm with Keys Battery.
Okay.
We've been reenacting for about 20 years now in the artillery.
Okay.
And we travel around all the way to Gettysburg and Chickamauga, Georgia. We just got finished doing the 160 Shiloh. And we've done it like 4 times now.
I understand. So this is like the Civil War period.
Yeah, that's all we really do is Civil War stuff. Yeah.
All right.
It's just a big hobby for us, something to spend money on.
Yes, sir.
But all the wheels here, they're 57.5-inch wheels. It took me about 3 months to build this thing. Some of the ironwork I built, some of it I bought.
Yeah.
It's just a hobby of mine building these things.
Yes.
Each box on these things is different for each piece of equipment. This one here has boxes on the inside for different parts of equipment. You would have your tools in one box, horseshoes in one other box.
All right.
Aprons and things like that.
I would assume it must be pretty heavy because these wheels
are
extremely heavy duty.
Yeah,
so it must be carrying a lot of weight from time to time, I would think.
It's probably total when you get the box loaded and everything, it's probably a good 1,400 pounds just this part here.
I see. Yes.
Then you had your canvas tarps on there. Some of the guys sit on when they ride, but you can put a fly out at night. They would sleep under the guns and
yes, sir.
And stuff like that. And you got your old vise, and this is where you would do your work. And then you would pump your bellows in here. And we just got finished rebuilding all the bellows in it.
Okay.
It does function. They would sit there with their booth, pump the bellows. The air comes out here.
I see.
Keep their horseshoes up or make repairs of stuff. All the bellows and leather work is inside this box.
I see. Now, one thing I'm noticing that I don't see, you've got a vise there.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume there needs to be an anvil as well.
It would have a 90-pound anvil. It's set up in here when they traveled.
Oh, okay.
When they was working on it, they'd have a big stump out here, or logs, or or cribbing or whatever, and that's in.
Yes, sir.
And they would leave it hooked up. And they would turn the forge, the limber, to the left, and they would work it there because this thing's so heavy and your vise is mounted to it and everything. So they would usually work it while it was still hooked up.
Yes. Okay.
But that's about all there is to it, really.
All right. Well, I imagine you'd have to use coal.
Yeah.
In order to fire things up. Does it have a coal box?
Yes, it has a coal box here in the back. You have all your coal in here, and they would take this box off and set it on the ground because your bellows are inside there, and then you've got another compartment underneath the bellows where you would keep your spare stock steel, and they would pull it out of the back.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So some of the weight that would be carried around is actually divided in between these two axles here. Okay. All right. Now, how does the front and back connect? Is it all rigid, or does the front articulate?
It articulates. It's on a pintle hitch in there, and you can disconnect it and use this forge here for any of the guns. The limbers are all interchangeable. Just the boxes are not.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, the military was quite innovative in making things serve multiple
Oh,
purposes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Huh. And I would presume that things like wheel bearings and...
There was actually no bearings in there. Inside the wheels, it's called a nave.
Okay.
And they would drive in there. I don't know if you can see the end part of the end of the nave there.
Okay.
And it's 2 inches out here on the outside. It'd be 3 inches on the inside.
Okay.
So it's tapered inside there.
Ah, so it's kind of like a tapered, let's see, bushing almost, a bushing style bearing.
Yeah, they just put
But there's,
inserts.
I forget the name of the brass bearings that were used an awful lot. Babbitt bearings, that's what I'm thinking
that's kind
of.
of modern day stuff now.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
Yeah, it's just steel in there, and they put them in there that way you didn't wear your wood out.
Okay.
On those steel axles
Okay.
and that kind of stuff. These wheels are 57 inches. They're made to go over a foot in diameter log. They can roll over a foot diameter log if you got the horsepower to pull over it.
Ah.
That's why they put the bigger wheels on there.
Yes.
All the wheels are dished, and they're angled at a 4-degree angle. That way when you're making turns and stuff, these wheels hold together a little bit better. So.
I see. Yes, I know that these dished wheels are very prominent in light buggies.
Yep.
And the explanation is they tend to take hard hits, damage, a lot easier than spokes, which are straightly aligned. I guess add a springy type effect to it, I suppose. Yes.
Most of your wheels on these things, these are all number 1 wheels, and like on the 12-pound Napoleon over on the back, it's got number 2 wheels on it, number 2 carriage. Only difference is your fellows will be a little bit bigger.
I see.
You know, a little heavier load.
Okay.
But yeah, they had it all down to a science.
Yes. And that had to come from practical experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you
Hard to say what they was thinking back in them days, you know.
Right. Anything else you can think of that might be educational for folks to know about, or?
I'll just come out to these Civil War reenactments and we'll fire them up and get to see them in action.
Okay. Well, you seem to travel around quite a bit. Is there an online resource that people can use to follow you?
You can get on the First Division of Reenactors online.
Okay.
And Facebook, or you can get on Keys Battery on Facebook.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We've got a lot of noise pollution going on over here. They're getting this smaller cannon.
That's a 12-pound mountain house.
Ah! I've always wanted to see one up close. I've heard one, or I've heard about 2 that were used to get the robbers' roost gang unhinged from their Mesa Top Fort in the Oklahoma Panhandle. That's back when that area was called No Man's Land.
Yeah.
And there was a mountaineering group that had 2 of these mountain howitzers that were based out of Colorado.
Yeah.
That set their howitzers up on the Black Mesa Formation, which is an old ancient lava flow, which is a little bit higher in altitude than the mesa that the robbers were situated on.
Yeah.
So being able to lob some shells over there, they were able to knock a stone building down.
They had actually 3 different carriages for these mountain howitzers.
Okay.
You got a number 1 prairie carriage and a number 2 prairie carriage, and you also had a pack carriage.
All right.
A pack carriage, you would take your barrel off, and they would have like a pack saddle for that. You would take your barrel off, and you would set that barrel up on the mule's back.
Huh.
And then the other one would have the carriage, and you would put hang the wheels off on each side of the mule, so they.
So that way, if you had to go through some heavily wooded areas, or areas, well, I've done some ranch riding up in Montana, my cousin's ranch, where we had to use pack horses to pack salt up into forest land. There would be no way to have any kind of cart behind us.
No, that's a lot of reason why they use the pack carriage.
Exactly.
To get around a little better, you know, and stuff. So.
Okay, well that makes sense. Wonderful.
It's a lot of fun. The hobby needs more people in it.
Everybody has something like that to say, believe you me.
We try to do it as period correct as we can. You know, there's guys that do it real authentically, you know, and stuff. And then you've got the mainstreamers, they call them. You come out and you set a tent up. The authentic guys, you know, they like to sleep on the ground in the trees and eat ticks and all that kind of stuff.
Right. But, and I lived in Florida for 11 years, and I made 3 different military reenactments. Most of them, I believe 2 of them were Civil War, and then we made a trip up into Maryland, I think it was. And it's been years ago. And that was more of the, I guess when the British invaded the United States during the Revolutionary period, or slightly after the Revolutionary
Their
period.
cannons was a little different than what we got.
Right.
They used a
little bit less refined.
They didn't use friction primers. They used the fuse. Flip it over, or touch hole they call it. You know, we don't think. We just use friction primers for ours.
I see. And I'm not familiar with the different types of fuses.
Well, Napoleon invented the friction fires because you would have a linstock during the old days, and you would have a little torch that was on the side of your cannon that stayed lit all the time, and your enemy would see that coming in through the dark. So Napoleon came up with the friction primer, so they got rid of the flame.
I see.
Take that torch out. When you load it, you put it in the vent hole on the top of the gun. Put a little powder in, like a muzzle loader flash pan, and you touch that, and it's fire.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a match. When I hear friction, I
friction
think
primer's like striking a match.
Okay.
It's got a little brass tube, it's got powder in it, a little wax in the bottom, it holds all in there, and it's got a brass wire that goes down in the middle, and when you pull that wire out, it's like striking a match. The wire's got little barbs on it, and it strikes through there, and it pushes the ignition down into the charge.
I see. Wow.
And it's just as instantaneous as firing a rifle, you know.
Wow. Yeah. And somewhat waterproof. In a way, I would think, if it was kind of rainy, damp, that type of thing.
Sometimes you can have misfires, you know, but try to keep them dry. They're all right. You know.
Yes, sir.
He's gonna be YouTube famous. Huh? How much you being YouTube famous? YouTube famous. Big money deal. All right, guys. Back up there. You gotta take this thing. Back, whoop. Probably got to take the stand out and drop it down. Put that neck yoke on there. Put the dog collar up there on the hand. On this side here, Bill. Dog collar. Through there and then around that ring a couple of times, or it's blacked up or whatever it's got to do. Okay? Let's go around this platform. We'll go over top be good there. Anyway, as long as it can't come off. Security correct that tail. Back up one. Back there. That's not much you need right there. Let's look try to better. 1 or 2. Drop one. Whoop, back up. Let's drop one and see how that. Come on up there. Come on forward. Come on. Yeah, people figure out something over there. Ah, get back! Let me. Hey, hey. Let me grab
They're ready to go.
Oh yeah. A few rounds with that gun, they won't be. Technically, they're supposed to be riding postilion is the correct way to do that, but they're riding on the limber long line is what they call it. But technically, the driver should be on the right-hand horse.
Yes.
For the saddle, fully riding
Yes.
postilion.
Yeah, there was a harnessing clinic given yesterday, and that was brought out.
Yeah. We don't have the saddles here. These guys are just helping us out just to do it. So that's what
I understand.
we're doing. So that's why we.
So those of you who are watching this video, you're going to have to see the other video where we went a little bit more into depth on harnessing.
Yeah.
And we talked yesterday evening. I can't remember if you mentioned that there was a mountain howitzer or not.
Yes, there is. That's the small one
Yes,
over there.
just covered a little bit of that, and I am so happy I finally got to see one in person. I've been telling stories about two mountain howitzers that were used to dismantle a gang called Robber's Roost up in no man's land, which is now we call it Oklahoma Panhandle. But two mountain howitzers to knock down their fortress and get them to scatter. And it's said that they never did capture all of them.
Well, you'd have some out for centuries. So you'd have some that would be able to escape.
Right.
Just like that. Look at that bag there. I got another one with dog collars over.
So this is your cannon that you were talking about last night?
This is not my cannon, other
Okay.
than when it's on the field. I don't own it, but I've been running it for 15 plus years.
Okay. Well, it's pretty impressive. How much does the cannon itself weigh, the barrel?
Well, the tube and the gun carriage weigh right at 1 ton,
Oh, okay.
2,200 pounds.
Okay.
And then you add the limber box and limber carriage. Limber box itself, when it's full, just with powder, I can't tell you because we've never loaded it with actual rounds, it's probably about 400 pounds.
Yeah.
So you're looking at close to another 1,000 pounds here, easily, if not, when it's fully loaded, probably closer to 1,500 pounds.
Wow. Now, the tongue on the wagon seems like it would support up to 2 animals, just like what we see next door there.
Normally in the war, you'd have had 8, a team of 8 per gun.
Okay.
Yes, we pulled this with 2. We've even pulled it with 2 halflingers, but the gun weighs more than they do.
Okay.
Combined.
Okay.
But normally in the war, everything would have been a team of 8. Obviously, if they have attrition, they could easily pull it down to 2 if they had to. But the intention would be each gun would have a team of 8.
I see. So then you would have to have extensions on the tongue, kind of like what is used with the Clydesdale, Budweiser Clydesdale.
Traces.
Right. Okay.
You know, if you look at the Old West movies of the stagecoaches, they didn't have tongues that went out between all the horses.
Right.
Just the initial tongue between the back two, and then everything else would just be chains and
okay.
leather.
So it is a little bit different from the Clydesdales and
Yes.
the Budweiser beer wagon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, great. That's good to know. Now, you use the term Haflinger, I believe. Can
That's
you?
a breed of mule.
I see.
You know, normal mules are about the size of horses. These are bred with smaller animals, and so they're not quite half size of a full-size animal, but they're probably about
Gotcha.
3/4 size.
Gotcha.
But the term is a Haflinger.
I see. All right. Is there anything that you would like to describe about this carriage or the cannon itself? While I know you're about to get busy, so I'm trying to get a little bit of education going here for us.
The 12-pounder is a smooth bore. It's not a
Okay.
rifled gun.
All right.
It was designed initially to knock down walls because of the force behind that solid 12-pound shot.
All right.
In the war, it was used. You could fire anything out of it, which was a benefit. You could fire, you know, solid rounds, K-shot, which would be hollow rounds filled with powder. You can fire.
Well, scrap metal. I've heard.
Yes.
So there's a lot of shards of
As they
metal.
proved in Gonzales, when they shot the gun out of Gonzales, you can put anything down the barrel as long as
Yeah.
you've got something to push it. You'd have to have a little bit of a solid sabot there to push something like that out.
Yes.
But at 2 pounds of just powder, this gun will bend a T-post, steel T-post in half with nothing but powder on it.
Wow.
So there's a lot of force that comes out of it.
Yes. Yes. Now, generally,
What I was trying to remember was canister. They
Oh,
would fire
okay.
canister, which was
Canisters.
literally just kind of like a tin can filled with musket rounds.
right.
And the range on that would be about 500 yards. Range on
Okay.
solid shot or case shot is quite closer to a mile and a half.
And as far as the ball shot, well, I'm calling it shot. As far as the cannon balls themselves, were they generally lead, steel?
Mostly, at the time, a combination probably. Depends
Okay.
on what they had available. Lead would be the cheapest.
Yes.
Steel is obviously much more expensive,
Right.
so they probably made most of them out of
Harder
lead.
to forge.
Right.
A little bit harder on the barrel, probably.
So, yeah, the barrels had the life of about 100,000 rounds.
Oh, wow.
After 100,000 rounds, they would send them back to the foundry and have them melted down and recast because they would fail.
Yes. Interesting. So, when we talk about a 6-pound
A 6-pounder,
ball,
this would have a solid shot size that weighed 6 pounds.
okay.
This one, if you want to do an equivalent, a modern lady's shot put is about the right size to go down this barrel and weighs close to 12 pounds.
Huh, 12 pounds.
They're normally zinc, so they're a little lighter than the lead would be. But
Okay, yeah,
it would have been a 12-pound lead shot.
right. Okay. Now,
When you got into case shot and the others, case shot would be iron.
okay,
They had fuses. They would last for a few seconds.
I see. And what type of fuses are used with these, and how is it fired off?
Most common was a Borman fuse. There would be a hole in the round that they would use to fill it with whatever, mostly gunpowder. They sometimes some of them they actually put shot inside there to make shrapnel larger. But then, and it was threaded, and the Borman fuse would just thread into that hole. It had a small tube in it that contained powder.
Okay.
And there was an adjustment on the top that had approximate time in seconds. And so the gunnery sergeant would set it for whatever the gunner called for. And so they would set it, they would fire it, and just the act of firing it would ignite the fuse, the powder in this fuse. And as I said, you'd have a few seconds. Oops. I don't want to be inside when you back up.
Yes, I was going to say we might have a safety issue here.
So that's the way fuses worked. There's a really good book called Cannoneers in Gray that describes artillery in the Army of Tennessee. And for example, the Battle of Cold River, they didn't trust their fuses, so they didn't use them. They were afraid that they would ignite over their own troops.
I see, yeah. And you would think, I've never actually seen that triggering system before.
You can see pictures of them.
Okay.
I have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have, unfortunately, what I have is a live round. It still has the fuse in place, so it doesn't go to any displays, doesn't go anywhere else.
Right.
Because it's still live. It's
That'd be a
actually
little bit dangerous.
A mortar round off of a riverboat from the Mississippi. It was found on a plantation in Louisiana.
Wow. It must have been pretty well engineered to withstand the impact of being shot out of the barrel.
It was iron, so it wasn't a problem, either iron or brass.
Yeah.
But you just had a flat surface on the front, and it held well.
I just dropped it in that mirror.
Now these mares are the geldings. The last two mules that we saw were both mares, I believe.
I think these probably are both mares also, but I don't know.
Okay. Sometimes mares can be a little bit more temperamental than geldings.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to redo this, put a new pole in this, and then we have to cut this one off shorter because Neil and them broke.
Yeah.
With them percher runs. I just want a new pole.
Well, if I get my full-size lathe put together, we can make one.
Yeah.
My small one isn't long enough.
Now I've noticed that these do not have any brakes.
Actually, they
As far
do.
as I can see on the wheels. Oh, really?
That's right, yeah.
The mules?
No.
Mules can act as a brake.
No. This chain right here,
Okay.
you would take it over. That's why it's attached there. It's just looped around. Take it through the wheel and loop it on itself, and it locks the wheel.
Oh, okay.
And that functions as a brake if you're going down long hills.
Oh, wow.
We used it a lot when we were being pulled by the halflingers because, as I said, the gun weighed more than they did.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, that was the brake for the gun. Is they would just lock a wheel and it would drag, and that's the brake.
I see.
You don't have an active brake like you see on some of the wagons where the driver would push a lever and it put a brake against the wheel.
Right.
I'll have to get my keys. We're going to go hook up everything, take them there in the back. We got some horses that ain't never done this.
Okay.
Probably need to fire around, let them pull a little bit.
Okay. Well, we have, now let me double check. We did have 3 rounds.
Okay.
Make sure we still have
Over the wagon in here.
yeah. Well, because if you ever stop, you gotta be able to drop them. That way, the wheels. I'm not open it up.
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't know which key.
Yeah.
Cat key. I got my pocket.
Okay, yeah, we do have a few small rounds. Small for this guy.
Are these your mules?
Yes.
Okay. It'd be proper to call you a mule skinner then.
Well, I've been called worse.
Well, we have all been called worse things. For sure. Well, they seem to be in a good mood this
Oh,
morning.
they used to it.
Okay. And the mares, geldings?
Got a molly mule and a horse mule.
Okay. Now, how long have they been together as a team?
Probably 3 years.
Okay.
2.5 years.
I see. How often do they get to work like this?
Well, the last few months we hadn't worked them much, but usually every week, or we go on week-long rides, so they get worked a lot.
Oh, okay. And where are you based out of?
Manning, Louisiana.
Oh, I see. I'm not for sure exactly where that's at. I know a lot of Louisiana is fairly flat.
It's 60 miles
east of Lufkin, Texas.
Okay, so it's hilly
right on the
country.
Texas line.
So you got some hilly country to
Yeah.
work them out
Piney
in.
Wood,
then.
it's just like right here.
Yeah, yeah,
Countryside. Yeah.
right. Those are nice looking collars that they've got on there.
What? You tied together back here in the back.
Just keep them in place.
Good thing about summertime.
And I think it's supposed to be a little bit warmer tomorrow even. That's fine by me. At least we've got some cloud cover. That
You
helps.
live here in Palestine?
No, I'm out of Amarillo, Texas.
Yeah, we just left up there at Border. We stayed a little over a month up there at Border.
Oh, really? What was going on out there?
Filming at 1883.
Oh, okay.
Me and two more of the guys, and Hugh also. Everybody that's pulling the cannons and forges today worked pulled wagons
I see.
on that 1883.
Well, a number of you have also been in that 1888 series, have you not?
No,
Wasn't it 1888?
1883.
Okay.
The
Okay.
Yellowstone spinoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.